I feel the need to make this video is not only a self-defense, but a clarification after having been kicked from a stream on YouNow that was facilitated earlier today by Onision that I joined voluntarily. I saw the announcement for the stream in the form of a series of retweets posted by someone I follow on Twitter. The tweets were all of an antagonistic nature. They were calling out his critics, both past and present, specifically emphasizing Mr. Repzion in hopes they could get him onto the stream. They were also stating the potentiality that no one critical of him, past or present, would show up to the stream under the auspices they were either too beta, too big of a cuck, too much of a pussy, so on and so forth, to have a real conversation. So I chose to call the bluff of the tweets, make a sock account on YouNow in the most literal sense, basing it off the infamous rep sock, and wait my turn to get my chance to dialogue. In other words, troll the stream. For those of you at all familiar with how Onion's and I's previous debate went, you may have some familiarity with how bad this went down. You don't have a debate with Onision. You don't have a real conversation with him. He makes it up in his head, the things that he does to others, says about others, how he interferes in the personal lives of people, can be justified and excused. And unfortunately, only to him do these justifications and excuses make any sense, such as slandering the family of someone you consider a best friend for years, all because Onision and them dated for 3 weeks years ago. I came in heated about that, because in my opinion, that is incredibly fucked up, and he had no right to do that. And I wanted to let him know that he had no right to do that. I wanted to make sure he understood he had no right to do that. But of course, he just blew it off, making people aware, yada, 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 same old shit. It went back and forth with mudslinging, circular arguments, not wanting to go through the minutiae of years' worth of content to find some ancillary statement he made because he had the desire at a moment's notice to have some substantive evidence provided, even though he should be able to recall a statement he made in content he created. It got to the point where the final straw was pulled when he accused me of being a liar, saying it never happened that he created an IMDb actors page and used an address across the street from where I used to live in an apartment in Las Vegas as his work address, as a passive-aggressive attempt to try and intimidate me. Though I have physical hard evidence, proof that this actually existed at one time, that this was done. His excuse for saying I was a liar was that in that moment I was heated, I was pissed off, he tripped me up on my words, and he parasitically attached onto that and just went for it and went for it and went for it. It got me to the point where I just decided to say fuck it and bring out the accusations that his wife is a transgender, that she's not legitimately transgender, or he's legitimately transgender. And that's how I feel about it. Truthfully, it is how I feel about it. When I see their content, Kai's content, I see someone who is attached to the transgender movement. They're attached to transgender issues, but it comes off to me in a disingenuous way, where they understand that there is a severity and a seriousness to these issues, and that's why they're important and serious to others, but they don't particularly apply themselves in that category because they're very attached still to their femininity. Now, I know that there's talk she wants to do T-shots or he wants to do T-shots. Onion's already going out there and saying he's a proud gay husband to his husband. But after years of making the content I made on these people, and on him specifically, it just comes off as a bunch of disingenuous showboating. And I called it for what it is. And in return, I got accused of being a transphobe and being then a homophobe. Really. That's a tall statement to say about somebody who's a bisexual male. Then I get accused of virtue signaling when I bring up the fact that I've supported transgender causes, I've supported homosexual causes, homosexual equality, transgender equality, understanding. I've donated money to charities for all sorts of things to do with this. Yet, what does he have to show for it? I virtue signal. He goes and makes the exact same statements and claims with nothing to show for them, aside from being married, apparently, to a transgender person, and thinks that that alone is enough? No, I'm sorry, it's not. The temerity to accuse somebody of being a transphobe because you need something to label them, because you got the response you wanted to get out of somebody that they gave you since you were seeking it, it doesn't work. Sorry. It took me aback a bit to have the balls to accuse me of that. I figured I would clarify my position. I am not transphobic. I'm not homophobic. I just find this entire thing going on between the two of them to be extraordinarily disingenuous. If you think that I go out of my way to make huge statements and broad accusations about all transgender people, anyone I can find, you're out of your fucking mind. But I call a spade when I see one. And having been submerged in this content he'd made for years and responding to it for years and knowing exactly the twists and the turns to expect from somebody like this, it wasn't that hard to come to such a conclusion. Now, if I'm wrong about that conclusion, I'm wrong about that conclusion. But we still can't forsake a level of exploitness here, because that still does exist. It exists for certain in his content, and it exists for certain to a degree in Kai's content as well. And I think that sets a very negative precedent for young transgender people out there. It attaches a stigma that they don't need to how they feel, to what they're going through. I don't claim to know what it's like for a transgender person to go through what they go through. I can never know that. That's something a person going through that can know. But somebody else, you can understand it. You could be told, like, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what it's like, and you have that understanding. But to be able to, like, hypothetically download myself and understand what that physically is like for them, what that is emotionally like for them, I mean, never in a million years would I make that claim. The insane arrogance anybody would have to possess in order to do so is beyond me. But to accuse me of having an observation that makes me homophobic, transphobic, fuck that. I reject that. Categorically, I reject that. This is exactly what, I don't want to get political, but people on the left do that really bothers me, is they need to label people in order to have a box so they can easily put them in and say, oh, we can just file it away now. That's not how the real world works. It's not. If I was a transphobic and homophobic person, trust me, I would not have done half of the things that I've done with my life to vie for the equality and the acceptance of these people. And it would be hypocritical as hell of me to make homophobic statements about anyone. Sure, I'll call somebody a faggot in a moment of a real heated exchange. Doesn't mean that I think, oh yeah, all gay people are just cock-swallowing faggots. Or what was that in Predator? Jesse Ventura says, you're all just a bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here. No. I'm human. Apparently it's wrong to be human. And apparently when you join a live stream and you give somebody exactly the reaction that they were seeking, that allows them a precedent to, like, label you through. Because it got to a point where I'm saying, okay, she wants to be known as he. Well, does she have a dick? Does she have a dick? You're going to call me a liar? Does she have a dick? It's like he wants to antagonize. Well, I'll antagonize. Sorry. You're still not going to get what you want. Your label still can't be applied because I'm giving you what you wanted. Anyway,